Honest manifesting is what it's about today. Are you manifesting honestly? Why should you manifest? Are you wishing or goal setting? What is the difference? If you really want to learn true principles that will create honest and powerful manifesting in your life, then this video is for you. If you don't like putting in effort and you don't like to trust God in or the universe, then this video isn't for you. Hi, I'm Heather Christensen, and this is Kiara Bowden. This one. I think you're here.
I'm gonna be on the other side,
Okay, there.
I think.
We are turning it up, a mom and daughter team that's dedicated our lives to helping people to heal in many ways and live the best lives they possibly can. So first off, why manifest? We really encourage manifesting because that's exactly what will help you live your life in optimism with God at your side, and you'll be focused and continually progress with purpose. But there are a lot of lies out there about manifesting that actually end up discouraging people from progressing in the long run. Today's topic, it was prompted because we see so much propaganda on the internet from how to manifest. And then we get a few clients that are surprised when we tell them about what we like to call honest manifesting. The craze on the internet about manifesting is just that, crazy. So in so many words, they're saying that you get something for nothing, no effort. And usually these kinds of things have to do with all the world's riches and fame, but people buy easy. And besides, it sounds so good. I mean, if you could be a millionaire in 5 years and the way that's being sold, why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah, I see so many of these, especially like on our Turning It Up page. We follow a lot of people who are into the same kind of stuff we are, but a lot of the stuff that they say is so, um, it's just so worldly, I guess, is the answer to say it compared to our take on it, which is that, we are created by God and God has a purpose for us. And so he, of course, should be part of that manifesting of what our life wants to be like. So in case you haven't seen or heard what we're talking about, let's talk about what's being sold. So a lot of the stuff we hear are, one, if you really want to manifest something, it's easy. You just say it and you wait for it to come. I see that one all the time. Or if you write down what you want to manifest and put a timeline on it, it will magically appear because you wrote it down and you said when you want it. Or three, if you dream it, speak it, and write it down with a timeline, it will come to you. It just makes it sound so easy. But often, if this is all people do, the majority of the time, they'll end up being really frustrated. Is it possible for God to give you something that you have asked for at the time you ask for it? Of course it is. Yes. If he sees it as something that is necessary for you at that time, he will, of course, give it to you because he loves you and he wants you to succeed. But usually the ways above are a little more than wishing. And this is the opposite of goal setting. Goal setting is writing out what you want to accomplish and then working for them as if everything depended on your work, which we totally recommend setting goals for things that you can control, things you can work for in manifesting. You set a timeline and have plans for things that you're going to accomplish to work through that timeline. And so manifesting is a combination of faith and working. It's like using faith and your heart in your goal setting and then working towards it and just trusting that God is going to help you through it and that it's going to happen because you felt like that's what God wanted you to do. So what makes manifesting extra powerful is that your faith that God will do his part as you do your part, and that you trust that it will happen in his timing, to reiterate what I just said.
That is so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, the trust and letting go is the hard part for me. I'm a control freak, and so I don't like waiting or not knowing how things are going to happen, but that's a giant part of manifesting.
It is a really big part of manifesting. Um, I get really frustrated actually when clients come in and they've set these manifestations out there, they've created it. And when they get discouraged, that's when I get really frustrated about what's out there on the internet. We've had a few meetings with clients discussing manifesting, and because their manifestations didn't occur like they imagined they would, and they felt like maybe they had emotional blocks or some limiting beliefs or something like that that were holding them back from allowing them to happen. Well, the blocks and limiting beliefs are definitely real things, and they very well could contribute to their lack of success. But the majority of the time, when we ask about a client's process for manifesting, it seems that they've picked or chosen parts of the manifesting process and then left others alone. So when I ask people to describe their processes to me, this is kind of what I hear. This is typical of what I hear. And a lot of it is really great stuff. But like I say, there's picking and choosing. They say, I wanted to manifest such and such, and I asked my heart and it felt good. Or they say, I was told that it was right. And then they created their manifestation using the most powerful movement for manifestation that we have in the It's All About Vibrations series. And then they write it down and they put a timeline on it. And they try to keep their vibrations high by repeating what they want over and over and over. So they're always repeating their affirmations, which repetition is really good. And then some people will put in the effort and do what they can to make it happen. So all of these things, they're really good and contribute to manifesting, but they leave out some critical components. And so many are confused when it just doesn't happen the way they envisioned it in their minds. I mean, who wouldn't want to follow this trend and get what they want? Just put it out there in the universe, write it down, give it a timeline, keep your faith up, and then boom, the universe provides.
So easy.
Seriously. If you want a detailed way of how to create a powerful manifestation and realize it, go to our last video, and it's all about the vibrations, and we'll put it in the description below.
Yeah, for sure. People want it easy, and it's hard not to blame them for wanting it to be easy. But especially because that's what is being sold to people, is that, the universe wants to give you everything that you want, and you just need to say it. And like I said, could it happen? Can you get something that you want when you want it? Of course. But even though we are optimists and we believe in creating our reality, we also know about a few important principles that God expects when you are creating your reality and manifesting. We know that we're probably going to be the least popular people out there on the internet that talk about this kind of stuff. Especially when we say you might be missing some critical components and people are just trying to sell you something that may end up just frustrating you. But this is your honest check. And if you really want to be honest with yourself and not get frustrated, you can check your process with these 5 principles that we're going to talk about. So I'll just quickly go over those. 1, your head's intelligence is in alignment with your heart's intelligence. You are functioning in that one space that we've talked about. 2, obedience to your heart's intelligence. You're listening to what you think is, or what you know is right. 3, expect and embrace resistance, synchronicity. 4, consistent effort. And 5, humility and trust when it comes to when and how it will happen. Just like that faith that we talked about. So should we go into further detail? You want to kick it off?
Yeah, I think so. So when we talk about your heart's intelligence is alignment with your head's intelligence is in alignment with your heart's intelligence. So your heart intelligence, remember we talked about, is your spiritual intelligence. And your spiritual intelligence lived with God before, right? And knows exactly who you are and who you're meant to be. And it's going to be honest with you. So in our Reprogramming Your Mind series, we talk a lot about connecting to your heart, or basically listening to your spirit's intelligence. And after some talk with clients, we understand that people are getting mixed signals when they are trying to connect to their heart. Sometimes what we want in our head, we want so desperately, and our desires are so strong and so powerful, we may not be in the state of mind to calm down enough to listen to our spiritual intelligence. But there is a great way to gauge on how you are connected to your heart versus when you are still in your brain. And it has to do with how you feel when you receive those answers. So the first is, when you are receiving messages from your heart, you feel calm and collected. It just feels right. You feel peace and you feel light. Would you say that's right, Kara?
Yeah, I was going to say peace is, like, I think the best description. Like, it's just not confusing on whether it's right or not. Like, you just know.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel like a roller coaster ride that tickles your stomach. Let me expound on that.
Unless you're a thrill seeker like me.
Well, your strong head and your body desires can make your head's desires feel euphoric. like I'm going to have so much money and I'm going to have this big house on the beach and I just feel like this is my future and I'm going to have this car and they might be for really good reasons. And who's to say you won't have those, because it's very possible that you could have those. But your spirit is going to take you step by step. It's going to say, okay, so here's the big picture. Yes, we got this. And this is God's purpose in your life. And sometimes it takes time to get to that point, but it's going to give you a little bit of a layer at a time. It's going to say, okay, here's what you should work on first. And then here's what you should work on. And then here's what you should work on. And those are peaceful line upon line manifestations. So when people are feeling that euphoria, you can even think you hear a voice from God telling you that it's right, because those desires are so strong. And don't think for one moment that Satan isn't right there by your side telling you that that's the way to go. But there is a difference. It's like the difference between lust for someone who's attractive and the love that you feel for family. So at first, it can be difficult to differentiate if you aren't experienced at it. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to what you have found with clients, Kiara?
I feel like anything that has been right about my manifesting or someone that I'm working with manifesting, it always has to do with fulfilling what they believe their purpose is on this earth. Like it always contributes to that, and like it's a clear roadmap. Not a clear roadmap is as in they know every stop they're going to take, but a clear roadmap is like, yeah, this will help get me there. I mean, part of our Life Mind classes are being able to find and to understand what you feel like your life purpose is. And so I feel like those manifesting, they're always in alignment with that. And maybe it's not always the most obvious thing. Like if you want to help all the, poor people in the world and stuff, the first step isn't going to be to have a big house and car and all this money so you can just give it away. Like there's going to be something deeper.
Well, it might be like, if you're younger, it might be going and getting that job down at Pizza Hut as a driver. And along the way, you meet this person that you end up, oh my gosh, they're a mentor, and there are things along the way, but your heart may have been saying, go get that job at Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't seem to have any relation whatsoever.
Yeah, but part of honest manifesting is realizing the synchronicity in the journey as well. So if you get this feeling that you're supposed to get that job at Pizza Hut, even though you know you're not going to make a bunch of money off of it to give away to people, it means, oh, but maybe something's going to happen there and I'm going to meet somebody. It's being able to be open and have faith.
Yeah, or you end up learning critical skills there that you would not have learned any other way. And those skills were just for you, or you met a friend that you ended up helping in some ways and you both learned along the process. I love that you said you just got to accept that it's all part of synchronicity. It's all part of God's divine design for you.
Yeah. And if you think about it too, if you're sitting there with your first manifestation of, I'm going to have so much money and I am going to have this house and this car, do you really feel peace about that manifestation, or do you feel confusion? Because if all of a sudden that's what you're manifesting, how are you going to get there? You know what I mean? Like if that's your manifestation that you're focusing on, that to me is confusing. Like I would sit there and be like, okay, I'm supposed to manifest this, but like, what do I do right now? Because we talk about living in the present all the time, right?
That's a good point. That's a really, really good point. And this is what the internet is telling you is just put it out there and the way will come. Well, maybe. But is it really honest manifesting? Are you putting in the effort? So anyway, we can
I
move
think
on.
it's also important to say, like, you're not gonna hurt yourself if you do just put that out there. But if
Right.
you're relying on that as your source of like, this is gonna happen to me and this is gonna come, then you are more than likely going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I do get some people that say, well, God told me. And sometimes I want to say, sometimes that desire is so strong that you might have thought it was God, but remember there are other spirits that can read your vibrations, and they're going to be right in there giving you those lies. And then when it doesn't happen the way that you thought God told you it was going to happen, it's going to be really frustrating. And then what Satan wants is he wants to give you those lies to set you up so that when it doesn't happen, you suddenly are questioning God and all of your beliefs. Okay. So then you're like, well, I may as well just do it all on my own anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think it correlates to like the next one because what you said can be confusing to people. Like, I feel like if I was just hearing that, I'd be like, well, how do I know? Like, how do I know that for sure I'm manifesting the right thing? Because I don't want to put my faith in something and then end up being disappointed that that wasn't right. But these principles are ways that you can make sure that you are manifesting the right thing. And the next one is obedience. And it's obedience to things you know are right in your heart. We all have the conscious. We all know deep within what is right and what is wrong. But it can be super confusing in this day and age because we are bombarded with information 24/7. There's just so many people out there giving philosophies and people twisting God's words, and popular trends encourage us to pick and choose ideals to meet what works for us, disregarding the truths and laws of the universe that we are all susceptible to. Um, so yeah, just like you said, lots of people pick and choose what sounds good to them, and then they aren't consistent in obeying what they already know is right in their hearts. Their heads have heard so many voices that it gets extremely confusing to know what is true and what is not true. So, if you hear conflicting things that confuse you, especially that are being promoted over and over again on the internet, then that is the time that you hone in and really take time to learn that skill of connecting to your spirit and asking, what is the truth? The truth is within us. What?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wanted you to talk about what you read, either saw or read about Jim Carrey and his manifestations, and let's discuss that a little bit.
Oh yeah, one of the videos that I saw floating around the internet like crazy was about Jim Carrey's experience with manifesting because he is a huge believer in it. Um, he was little and he first heard that if you ask the universe for something, then he would get it. Or actually, it was if you ask God for something, that you would get it. And as a little boy, he wanted a bike. And so he asked God for a bike. He just threw it out there. And it was like the next day or something, he got the bike. And I'm not sure how he did. I can't remember. But ever since then, he was a huge believer in manifesting. And so one of the really infamous manifestations that he did was that he wanted to be a millionaire by the time he turned 20, something like that. And literally it was like the day or the week before he turned 20 that he became a millionaire. So he talks about that all the time. And I was talking with you about it, and I was just like, it's unfair for us to hear stuff like that because why can't that happen for everybody? You know, it just sounds so easy because more than likely that was supposed to happen for Jim Carrey. That was his
Well,
in life.
and who knows what happened at that point where he says, I just put it out there that I wanted a bike. I asked God for a bike. Who was sitting there next to him that heard it? You know, and maybe that was so that his faith could be built, you know, because I think that we have moments of where our faith is really built in God, and then moments where we're just really tried and our faith is tried. You know, are we still going to believe in God even though? And the fact that Jim became a millionaire right before his 20th birthday, he doesn't talk about everything else that happened.
That
He
he worked for too.
that he worked for.
Yeah.
You know, so we are going to be talking about the difference between, well, goals and did we already talk about the difference between goals and manifesting? I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think also it's just so important to remember that we are all individual spirits. So I bet you couldn't find hardly one person that if you had this huge group of people and you said, "Do you want to be a millionaire?" I think that pretty much everybody would raise their hand, but we can't all be millionaires. I mean, I guess we could, but like,
Well, we could.
but
It's
like,
just, is that our path?
yeah, and what's the point of life if we can all get everything that we think that we want instead of letting kind of our divine destiny guide us into our individual paths and truths.
Well, and I believe that we all have, like you said, we're individuals and our individual paths and truths, but those individual paths and truths, we are all here to help each other
Yeah.
in those individual paths and truths. And so we're like this great big puzzle that just is going to fit together if we all were to live our truth.
Mhm.
When I say
Yeah.
live our truth, I get a little bit nervous when I say that because it's such a trendy thing to say, and I
Yeah.
don't think it means the same thing that I am saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I am a firm believer that God is a God of miracles and he does give some people the things that they ask for and he gives them to them when they need it. But other people can have faith without getting those things. So yeah, we all have our own paths, which is why it's so important that each and every day we take time to listen because connecting to your spirit is when you are connected to God's spirit, and that is when you will receive truth during these very confusing times where you're getting all of this different information.
We cannot stress that enough. And that's why we are like, you guys connect to your spirit, connect to your heart, take the time to meditate, because that meditating is, I did a reel, it equals the perfect form of prayer because that's when you stop talking to God and you actually take time to listen to what the messages are from your spirit and from his spirit.
And
So
even for us, I feel like there's so many times where we forget that that is, like, the best tool we can use for literally any question. Like, I hear you say that all the time. You're like, "I don't know why I didn't just connect to my heart and ask if that was right." And then this week, I was debating on whether I should dye my hair a certain color, and my mom was like, "Did you meditate about it?" And I was like, "I just want your opinion. I don't wanna know the right answer, I guess." But once you, like, get into the groove of it, you realize that it is so helpful because it will not lead you astray. It is the best thing that you can learn how to do.
right, right. And that leads into, I don't know if it leads into or not, but our next point is to expect and embrace resistance. Whenever you endeavor to manifest something that feels right from your heart, you can expect some resistance, sometimes even a lot of resistance. Believe us, we know. The beautiful thing about this is that this is just the universe's or God's way, is what we want to say, of helping us know that we need more growth in certain areas before we can actually manifest those things. So it's also our spirit's way of helping us to align more with who we are spiritually. So our body's over here, or who we are in this earth, that life is over here, and this is who we are before, and our spirit's just trying to get us in alignment. So resistance equals growth. Try not to look at it as a trial. If we don't give up, resistance equals growth. Some people take resistance as a sign that it's not the right thing. Oh, I'm getting so much resistance. This just is not the right thing. The universe is telling me that I should just give up.
So many
But
people say that.
yeah, but if the desire actually really came from your heart when you were in that meditation and you are receiving resistance, we can guarantee this is the right thing for you. Don't give up because evil sees the good you are doing and may push you to the brink of giving up. That's exactly what the devil wants you to do. The thing is you have God's power behind you to create your reality and manifest it. You'll receive strength when you turn to God for help in your efforts to keep going. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, and I was gonna say after you receive it, that's you don't just stop. You're like, "Oh, okay, that's it. I got it. So now we're good." You if it is right, you're more than likely gonna have to receive confirmation over and over again when you're going through those hard things.
It's true.
Because God will not leave you empty-handed. Once you decide that you're gonna go with what you're supposed to, he will help you through it. And so that's the way to receive confirmation that you are doing the right thing is to ask him for help and he'll provide it for you or help you find it,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
goes along with consistent effort I was talking about. So he wants you to succeed, like I just said, and he loves effort. So even if he just doesn't like lay it out for you and how you're going to get through the next obstacle and like accomplishing your manifestation, he will provide a way for you to find that answer, whether it's through somebody else or through some reading that you're led to. Which is why we need to put in the effort to keep our vibrations high which really is another way to keep your faith strong, and effort to work on the things that you can control, because a lot of things are not in our control, but you should work on controlling the things you can. So during these times of consistent effort and working through resistance is when you really will see the hand of God helping you to live the law of, sorry, I just got an eyelash in my eye. Law of abundance, or seeing the evidence of things provided exactly when you need them along with your journey of
So
manifesting.
that's that synchronicity is what you were talking about previously.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And then along with, sorry, I had a rough night last night. Along with the consistent effort, you also need to practice patience with the timeline. This is the hardest thing for me. If you know me, I am really struggle with patience. I am a
Because
very,
Kiara has a great ability to move quickly and move fast. And so she's very organized at certain things, and she's very quick on her feet, and she can think so quickly. And so you're probably just, that is your way of functioning. So it probably goes against your,
yeah. Well, it goes against, my faith. And when I know something's going to happen, but I don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, that's really hard for me. But something that helps is, gratitude along the way for the small things, especially the small things. And then, like we said earlier, manifesting always involves trust too, in the spiritual side of things, or things that you cannot control. So you can ask God for certain timelines, but you cannot demand them from Him. That would defeat the point of having a God. We
Wow.
encourage you now that trusting God and gratitude along the way for the abundance He is providing is one of the most important lessons in this life. What do you say?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, we need to
definitely.
allow Him to perform His will, and you need to allow God to decide when and how things are going to manifest. So you can set a timeline and ask your heart if it feels right. You can even pray about it and ask if that's His will. Many times you may get the feeling that it is. Whether you do or not, we encourage you to keep moving forward. We are all individuals. Things will happen for us all differently. We do not
Yeah.
all get to be Jim Carrey.
Well, and we just did not get the full context with Jim Carrey. And that's what you need to understand. When these stories go out there on the internet, you are not getting the full context. The goal setting and so goal setting, like we have talked about, is when it's all up to you. You set the goal and it's all up to you. That's one way. And then wishing is just putting out there in the universe. And then manifesting is that covenant relationship with God, that He is going to work with you. You do everything you can in your power and you leave the rest up to Him. And I was just going to say this at the very end. If you think about it, it's against parenting 101. We talked about this the other day, didn't we, Kiara?
Oh, yeah.
To give a child anything they ask for whenever they ask for it, if they're not ready to be responsible with it. So
My
God
daughter
knows.
asks for kids. I was just gonna say, my daughter asks for kitchen knives all the time. Doesn't mean I'm gonna let her have it.
Right. Well, and kids will ask for candy all the time, and are we going to let them have it? I mean, we know what's good for them and what's not. So if it is true for parents to say no to their kids or not right now to their kids, don't you think it's a universal law?
Yeah. And I love that you added, or not right now, because I think a lot of the times that's what it is. That's the real answer is in due time, not right now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many times that my husband and I have been praying for things and we keep getting the peace and manifesting, we feel that that's what's right. So we're manifesting it. But then when it just doesn't come in the amount of time that we thought it should, then we just got to keep having faith. And we do have faith in God and we believe Him. But the interesting thing is we see the miracles and the abundance that comes along the way. And it's just beautiful.
But it also
So,
doesn't mean you don't ever get discouraged. Discouragement is a normal emotion that comes along with manifesting.
I don't ever get discouraged.
Right. Okay. But it means that we can push through the discouragement when we have faith that, okay, it's not the end. I did receive these promises. It will work out.
Yeah. All right, so much good stuff. We really encourage you to manifest in your life. Just do it. Do it. It's a great way of progressing in a positive and focused way and takes your eyes off of negativity around you. It lifts your sights to God and His purposes. Apply these principles and don't give up. You got this. Signing off. Until next time.
Bye.